Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we're taking a look at the Artisan Cutlery Apache. Pretty interesting knife, got a lot of things to say about it, so let's get right into it. Pull out our Smokey the Bear ruler, get a blade length measurement here. So we're coming in just a teeny little bit over 3.5 inches, 3.6 inches on that blade, so definitely a full-size knife, and it does feel like a rather large knife. Let's get our comparisons out here. There's a rat 1, and actually I've decided I'm going to start putting the bigger comparison on top. There's a rat 1, and 2. So there we go. Pretty tall knife, about the same length as a rat 1, but a lot taller. Let's bring out next Parrot 2, and the bug out. Get those pivot to pivot. There we go. And next, let's bring out our Savivis. There's the Elementum. And the Praxis. And last, let's compare it against some other big Artisan Cutlery budgety folders. Here is the Mega Hawk, and here is the Jungle. All right, awesome. What are we looking at here in terms of materials? We have a D2 blade. That is I think most people call this a sheep's foot, Warncliffe, whatever you want to call it. Nice stonewash on there. It is a steel liner lock with a steel pocket clip. The scales, however, are aluminum with these carbon fiber inserts. Running on bearings. There we go. Let's go see how it cuts and talk about some other stuff. Alrighty, so let's talk the Artisan Apache Nomad. I can't remember what the name is exactly. So, let's start off with the action. The action's good. Very kind of controlled drop. Pretty nice. The flipper tab is positioned a little bit low compared to the pivot. Not as bad as on the Artisan Mega Hawk, but the flip is pretty good. A lot better than on the Mega Hawk I mentioned earlier. Not the snappiest, but it's pretty good. You can use this fuller to reverse flick that big old blade out. So really cool there. So the action, perfectly fine. Nothing to really complain about. Nothing to get excited about, but nothing that I would complain about either. Okay, let's talk about the ergos. For me, the ergonomics on this knife do not work. And it's a shame because there's so much about this knife that I love, but the ergonomics are a big issue for me. So you have a very nice choil here, and when I'm choked up like this is the best grip for me with this knife. However, I cannot do this grip for long periods of time because of this big sharp point. So let's talk about this and this area too. This spot here is way too big for one finger, but too small for two. And so my middle finger ends up just getting stabbed on that point when I hold the knife back here. And it just doesn't feel good. I can choke back to here, but then I'm very far away from the blade, and the pocket clip is also an issue in the hand in certain grips. So just not the best thing ergonomically, in my opinion, which is a shame. Okay, let's talk about the carry. It's a big, wide knife, fairly heavy, so some people aren't going to like that. I don't mind so much. The clip is reversible, as you can see, which is really nice. But the clip is a problem for me. So they're using kind of the standard CJRB Artisan clip, which I like. I don't have any problems with this clip. I think it's a good clip. But look at this. See how the clip is like bending up like that? That's because it's sitting on top of this carbon fiber thing. And as you can see, the screws are not recessed. So what this means is in the pocket, you have to really push it to get it in there, and then it gets caught coming out. Is it the worst thing? No, but it's really not that great either. I do wish they had found a way to do that differently. It's very tight, so not a big fan of that. All right, so how is it cut? So we see here we have a big old D2 sheep's foot, Wharncliffe, whatever you want to call it, blade. I know some people call this a sheep's foot. I would tend to call it a Wharncliffe just because of the perfectly straight edge, but if you want to call it a sheep's foot, I totally understand. Let's grab a big old box here that's already falling apart. Yeah. Because this is such a tall, flat grind, this knife just breezes through material. Very, very nice on that front. Okay, let's do a little bit of a rope cut. Had a little bit of trouble there, but I don't know if that was me or the knife. Probably me. Let's do some let's do some push cuts. Get over here. Wharncliffes / sheep feet, whatever, they don't tend to do very good on push cut test. So this result isn't amazing, but it's kind of what's to be expected from this type of blade. Okay, let's do our pool noodle. See what that geometry is like. Okay, let's see if we can go thinner. Okay, so this did decently. In fact, this one did better than the Mega Hawk. I'll make sure that that video comes out before this one does so you can refer back to it. We got decently thin lifesavers. I could definitely tell, you know, this blade does get pretty thick, and I could tell that the pool noodle was binding up a little bit, but honestly, not bad. Let's get back to the table. All right, so let's talk about what I'm liking and not liking about the Artisan Cutlery Apache. Let's start off with what I like. First things first, I think this knife looks really cool. This is a very distinctive looking knife. Very, very cool. It definitely has that X factor going for it. All the curves and lines in the handle, and you have this very straight edge, but you still keep some of those nice curves and lines on the spine. Very, very nice, very attractive and eye-catching, so that's good. Next thing I like is this choil here. As you can see, plunge grind ends in a good spot, so it's a functional sharpening choil, but it's also big enough to be a good finger choil. I approve. That's really, really cool. Next, I do like this blade. This is a very good, hard-working sheep's foot / Wharncliffe, whatever you want to call it. Behind the edge reading is about 19 to 20 thousandths along the edge, which is completely fine, especially for a little bit of a medium to harder use blade. Really, really nice there. Almost a full flat grind. It does slice pretty well. Get your utility cuts, get some good push cuts. So yeah, I do like the blade. The edge is pretty much completely straight, which is why if you want to call this a Wharncliffe, I wouldn't necessarily argue with you, but really, really nice blade, in my opinion. Next thing, access to the lock bar is very good. They give you a nice amount of cutout. You can do that. The clip is reversible, and they have a little bench warmer is the only word that's coming to mind right now. That's not what I'm looking for. A spacer. They have a little, not a spacer. They have a filler tab. Filler tab. Gosh, that's what that is a filler tab. So yeah, reversible clip. That's cool. We will be getting back to the clip. Fit and finish is good. Centered. No, maybe a little bit of blade play, but I'll probably adjust that out. This knife does come with a glass breaker, a rather large glass breaker, but as you can see, this one has been removed, which is really good. If you want it, you can have it, and if you don't want it, you can just take it off. So that's nice. Alrighty. I do like that this is an aluminum scaled knife. We don't see very many of those. I mean, we do from certain companies. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's nice to see a budget knife that's not just another G10 liner lock. I do like the aluminum idea. That's pretty cool. Next thing I like. Come on, do it. Do it. I got this to work earlier. Come on. Okay, never mind. Never mind. I take that back. It can't stand up. I mean, it can. I did it earlier, but for some reason it's not wanting to right now. Okay. Whatever. Alright, and the last thing that I like about this knife, actually we'll talk about the action. The action is fine. It's nothing special, but it works. The flipper tab is positioned a little bit lower in relation to the pivot than I would like, but you can flip the knife open, and it does have a pretty good drop, actually. It's not like a guillotine, but it's very nice and controlled drop. So the closing action on this knife is very, very good. I like that a lot. The fuller here can be used to slow roll it open, or let's see if I can do this under the camera. Yeah. Or you can reverse flick off of it. So that's cool. So the action is nothing spectacular compared to other knives that we're starting to see out on the market, but it is still good action. So I do need to give it credit. It is a good, reliable action. Now we'll go on to the last thing I like about this knife. And the last thing I like about this knife is the idea behind it. A big budget type of work knife. I think this would make an excellent work knife. I like what they were going for, but yeah. I guess another thing I can say that I like is that there's a lot of different versions of this knife. Yeah, we'll add that in. There's a lot of different versions of this knife in the budget realm and in the high end. You can get this knife with the D2, S35EN, M390. You can get it in this aluminum liner lock. You can get it in a titanium frame lock. So there's some cool stuff with this knife. There's a lot of different options that you can go for if you're interested. Okay, now let's go into what I don't like. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of things that I don't like, but the things that I do not like are kind of big issues. So first of all, let's start with the carry. This knife is wide, it's a little bit fat, it's kind of heavy, but I don't really care about all that. The pocket clip, though, is not great. Okay, let's focus here, camera. As you can see, the clip is bending up like that in order to be on top of this carbon fiber insert. And so what that means is that going into your pocket, this is not the funnest thing because that clip is now very tight. When it's in your pocket, it gets stuck coming out. Yeah, it's just not that great. I usually like this pocket clip. This is a pocket clip that Artisan uses on like CGRB and all their budget stuff. It's a pretty good clip, and I do like that it's reversible, but they needed a different clip on this knife. They really needed a different clip because that's just unacceptable. That will not work. Not a big fan of that. Next thing, and the biggest dislike for me, the ergonomics on this knife just do not work for me. Most of it is down to this thing here, this huge choil and this sharp little point here. This choil for me is too big for one finger, but too small for two fingers. So if I try to grab this knife kind of in a normal grip, that just digs right into my index finger, and it's very uncomfortable. I do not like that one little bit. I do wish there was jimping on the blade. You get jimping back here, but again, in this grip, it's just not very good. I can choke back into like this grip, but at this point, I'm very far away from the edge, and it just doesn't feel great. If I choke up here into the choil and I grab it in a little bit of this, This is the most comfortable position I found, but it does still, it's not completely perfect. I can feel the pocket clip in that grip. Just not the best. And another thing adding to the inconvenience of the ergos is that this carbon fiber and this aluminum is very slippery. And so this knife feels slippery and, painful from this. The clip is an issue. This is just not a knife that I would feel fine using for a long period of time because for me it does not work in my hand. It might work if you have super big hands or super small hands. I don't know. And I do not have the biggest hands. But I just don't know how this would be comfortable for anyone. I mean, maybe if you have if one of your big old sausage fingers fills this choil completely and then the rest of your fingers kind of go right there, maybe then it'd be comfortable for you. If you have really small hands, you can fit 2 fingers in here, maybe. But I don't know. For me, the ergos are just not the best. And the thing is I could mitigate the pain or the uncomfortableness by wearing gloves while using this knife. However, then we get into the slippery part. This knife is incredibly slippery. There's no jimping on the blade. There's really nothing to lock you in until you get up here in this choil. You can do that. Which again, this was my best grip. And this is a good grip for some things. For other things, this does not work. If you're breaking down cardboard, this does kind of work. You lose some leverage. For me, when I'm breaking down cardboard, I like to have a lot of leverage. When I'm up here like this, I do lose some leverage, but you can do it. Utility cuts with this knife, even those are kind of awkward, but you can do them. Like my finger here just lands on that point. I can kind of... I've never had a knife that I had to think about how to grab it in a pinch grip. And this one I do because, I don't know, just slippery and pointy and weird. So if they were to, honestly, I think that if they were to shave this down, it'd fix a lot of problems. And if they were to maybe offer, I don't know, let me look. I have a website pulled up here. Yeah, I guess they do. They do have a couple of versions that you can get that have a G10 insert instead of this carbon fiber. That might be a little bit better because of the grip, but I don't know. For me, the ergos really do just kind of shoot this knife in the foot, which is a shame. Let's go on to my final conclusions because that's about what I've got. My final conclusions are that this is a knife that I really wanted to love. I like a whole lot about this knife. A big, heavy-duty working knife that has a straight edge. That's nice. That's something I can 100% get behind. I could see myself carrying this and using this in a lot of different situations. Heck, this is a knife that I would want to take with me to work on the ranch. If I'm cutting irrigation tarp, this would be an absolutely fantastic knife. Get that in the tarp, make those cuts. The knife is big and robust enough that even if I were to, hit it or on wood or a rock on accident, I feel like I'd be able to sharpen it up again. It's a cheap knife, so I wouldn't be afraid to use it hard. This is a knife that I really, really like the idea of, but unfortunately, those ergos just kind of fall flat. The pocket clip is a big, ugly issue for me, but I'm sure that I could find, if the design of the knife was good enough, I would put on a different pocket clip. I would maybe even carry it without a pocket clip. Who knows? But for me, the ergos really just kind of ruin this knife for me. If you feel like the ergos will fit you better, definitely feel free to give it a try, but they just don't work for me. So what's the price on this knife? The budget versions of this go for $59.24. That's a great price. If this knife did not have the ergonomic flaws that it does, that's a great price for what you're getting. Aluminum, carbon fiber / G10 D2 blade seal with actually a really, really good stone wash. That's another thing that makes me wish this was a good working knife, because that stone wash is pretty nice. So that's a fine price. If you want to get fancy, you can spend about $225 on an M390 titanium frame lock, or you can spend about $188 on a S35VN titanium frame lock. And then there's different colors and blah, 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 blah. Do I recommend this knife? Honestly, for me, the ergonomics are a big issue. I like the blade. The blade is really nice, but the handle just doesn't work for me. So I'm not sure if I can recommend this. Again, if you feel like the ergonomics will work better for you, give this knife a shot. But I'm not going to be picking up one of these, the budget ones or the expensive ones. I don't plan on owning this knife. So that's all I can say. That's my opinions. And that's the whole point of a review. I give you my thoughts, and then you make up your own mind. But that's what I've got here, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, comment below and tell me why. And I've been Gideon. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.